Nothing special that morning, you know. It was a good day. It was a beautiful day. And my wife called me. I hear desperation in her voice. Our son's on TV.
Welcome back, everyone. 11:11 right now, as we are on top of some breaking news out of Seattle right now that we want to bring to you. This is just coming in, and details are pretty scarce.
Your gut drops out when you hear something like that on the phone. As soon as you see his picture, it falls out again.
To the left of your screen is the description of the suspect that we've had since about 11:30 this morning.
You know, it was just pure panic. How do I deal with this? He was drawn to darkness. It was that moment before the storm. You know how the air feels before a storm. Take 12, 15 years of that moment of a storm building up slowly. The pressure changes, the light changes, the electricity changes. But we didn't know what was coming down the road. I miss him. I miss going camping with him. You know, I'd rather have bad days with him than no days at all. He may be a murderer, but he's my son. I just remember a policeman, a fireman, or a soldier. He wanted to be a hero. He wanted to contribute to the world for the good of it and be recognized in that role. There was an event. He was just a few years old. We were living downtown in Santa Barbara, and one day, he wasn't there with us.
Is Ian out here?
No.
I can't find him anywhere.
It's okay, we'll find him.
We spent frantic moments.
I'm gonna look around the neighborhood, okay?
Have you seen him walking outside, walking along the tracks, going up to the street to see if he'd wandered towards town, if anybody saw him up by the stops? He wasn't showing up any place, and we were getting frantic. Just a bazillion things that could have happened, and you're trying not to think about them.
You haven't found him?
No. Let's call the police, all right?
And all of a sudden...
Dad! Ian!
It's all resolved. People picked him up and brought him home.
Where was he?
I found him wandering down by the waterfront.
The waterfront.
He's taken a walk on the beach, and he's not in tears. He has... Camping was always a big thing. I've liked being outside. We did a lot of it.
We almost ready to set up this fire?
Just a few more logs.
We're spending the summer in this tent out in the woods. And one morning, as we're all getting up, Ian makes an announcement.
We need to move our camp.
What?
Yeah, we need to pack up our stuff and find a new spot.
He expected everybody to follow through. He wasn't angry, he was stern, and there was no questioning. It was that sort of authoritative voice.
We don't need to move.
No, we're moving.
And it was like, what is going on? These are your marching orders. Don't ask why.
Are you okay?
Yeah. Now let's go.
We talked a little bit about it. Where do you want to go? He wanted to get out of this whole area that we were in. There were too many other people. But you sort of understood that there wasn't going to be any negotiation about it. We're leaving here. End of story.
We're not staying.
Okay, Ian. There's a spot I've always wanted to check out, okay?
My way of handling it was, well, there's this other area we've never gone to. I would really like to camp there. I'm going to go drive there and see what it's like up there, see if I can find us a camping place. I could see it now as a paranoid thing, you know. Now that we look at it, we should have seen it. And that's something I have come to realize is a big thing. You could have seen it had you known what it meant, but you didn't know what it meant. You didn't know how to put it together. He came home this one day, and I had no idea what was wrong. He was having a hysterical breakdown, crying fit, slamming on the walls, banging around, just, out of control. It wasn't like rage, it was like despair.
Ian! Are you okay? No!
I asked him about it. He was not listening. He was completely in the throes of his emotions at that point. And I was afraid he was going to break his arms on the walls or on the windows or something like this. I physically stopped him by hugging him and holding on, grappling with him. And it went on, and 10 or 15 minutes into this event, I'm afraid to let him go, that he's gonna hurt himself.
Get off!
Call the police.
Get away! Get away!
I was making sure I wasn't doing something rough to him. I was making sure that he was in a position where he could not hurt me.
Okay.
Things eventually slowed down. He ran out of energy. I ran out of energy. The police came. I was still on top of Ian. We were on the floor. He was calming down a little bit. The police saw that everything was okay. They did not need to take him in at that time.
Are you okay?
Yeah, we're okay.
Son, look at me.
That was the first time he had ever been this expressive, emotionally expressive, and it was frightful. What caused this? We knew that school wasn't Ian's forte from the first grade. Other kids trying to bully him. I thought something happened to him on the way home. I have a lot of regret about not pushing him for details about what had happened. I wish I had been more forceful myself about offering help. But when things happened, we didn't understand what was happening. We didn't know what pattern they were going to be a part of later.
That sounds great, Dad.
Kids get interested in a lot of things like baseball cards or model cars or, things that they can collect. He wasn't interested in cars that way. He wasn't interested in guitars or instruments that way. The only mechanical thing that he was interested in was guns. Take it apart, put it back together, explain how it worked and stuff like that. It's more than fair to say that he had an arsenal in his bedroom. But I didn't see anything wrong with having that many guns. I never saw it as picking it up as something to kill people with or to harm people with or go off to war with. We didn't have issues. It was a very positive, enjoyable activity. Ian wanted to go into the Army. I guess he wanted to be a hero. We didn't talk a lot about it, but I talked with his mom.
Mom, this is what I've always wanted.
Are you sure? You're still in school.
Yeah, but I'll learn more there than I ever would at school.
He was too young to join without our consent, so we signed up the forms. Our son Ian has our permission to join the Army if he can pass the test.
Time to be a man. Take responsibility for yourself and those around you.
Really?
I knew that there would be difficulties adjusting himself to Army life, but I thought that was a good experience for him. It goes back to the idea of this school paper that he wrote, I want to be a hero when I grow up. And we liked that, his mother and I. That was our son's task. Ian's task was to be a hero against the dark forces in the world.
Thank you.
I was very hopeful, that this would work for him. And they were happy to have this healthy, intelligent kid come into their Army.
Hello?
I'm so sorry, Dad.
It was late in the afternoon when Ian gave me a phone call from where he was in the Army in New York. He was sobbing. He was choking up with sobbing. Dad, I didn't mean to.
I don't know why I did it.
That's the first time I saw a face that had darkness in it. The eyes are down. Didn't register as that at the time. Did not register. People don't understand. We did not understand what the signs were and what kind of darkness could be involved in it. Dark things to come. They're still in training, but it's not basic. These are the guys that have to bond as a unit when they go out and deploy. And he gives me a call, and he is distraught over an incident that had happened.
Hello?
I'm sorry, Dad. He's in the hospital and it's all my fault.
Ian had been at a party late at night. They were getting a little bit rambunctious. Someone there put a knife to his throat.
I don't know how it happened. He took a knife out and I just hit and hit.
And he's coherent, but he's choking and crying. You can hear it. Didn't mean to do it. I don't know what he was thinking. He put a knife to my throat. He's in the hospital. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry I did that.
I didn't mean to. I just reacted. I was trying to defend myself, but I went too far.
Never ask him what exactly he did. He probably put a couple blows to that man's body. But his response was definitely a violent response. He was sorry afterward. I'm sorry I responded that way. I didn't want to hurt him.
I don't know why I did it.
But it wasn't that long after that he was discharged from the Army. I don't know what went through his mind when he made these walks at night. He was so distant. Ian's lifestyle was to visit us and go back to his life. I tried to talk to him just to start a conversation, break the ice. No ice breaking here.
Ian? Where have you been? It's late.
I don't need you checking in on me like this.
What?
Didn't want to talk, had made the announcement we weren't supposed to talk to his friends.
And don't talk about me to anyone. It's none of your business.
He told all of them not to talk to us. It was pretty much stay out of my life. Because he knew that if we talked to people, we'd get clues to something wrong. He wanted his separation. But when your child has been gone for a long time, you think they're going to come back and tell you where they were. Ian wasn't that way.
Well, did you leave a message?
Of course I left a message. He just doesn't call back.
At this point, I was playing Snoop, unpacking the gear left behind. What the hell sent Andrew back here with nothing to say about it? And I found this phone number. I called the woman up.
Hello?
Hi. Hello. My name is Walt Stawicki.
I explained who I was, that these two young men were my children, and they had been up there, and her phone number was in their stuff. I was just wanted to know what, how she knew him from up there. And you could hear in her voice and the hesitation to respond.
I don't know anything about them. I don't think I can help you.
I just have one question, please.
She was afraid. She was freaked out. I know she's got kids. I can hear kids. He's not the kind of guy that's going to rape someone. He's certainly not going to molest a child. But I know something's happened. I know he's made her very uncomfortable.
Listen, I'm in the middle of something. I have to go.
Hello.
She didn't say don't ever call this number again. But that's the message I got from her. A couple months later, Ian finally shows up down here.
Ian, I didn't realize you were home.
When I finally saw him, it was like, don't push. You're not going to get any answers. Don't push. He's not going to open up to you about anything that happened.
Ian. What? Never mind.
You know how the air feels before a storm? It was that moment before the storm. I woke up once and he was standing over me. This is not a good way to wake up. He had paranoid ideas about working with the government, being forced to work with the government. This computer incident happened.
Guys, check this out. I want to show you a project I've been working on. It's kind of interesting.
And it's loading a government page. The pages come on .gov.us.
Is this a government website? Stop.
He looks at that and all of a sudden, don't load that page.
Stop it! You can't go to that page! What? You gotta leave that page. Leave it!
Get it off. Close it out right now. The page that I pulled up was not a FBI page. It was not a Homeland Security page. Completely innocuous government page.
You don't want them to track you. They'll do it, too. Leave!
No, don't load that page. Stop that page. Back out of that page right now.
Don't get all your information.
By the time I'm aware of what he's trying to ask me to do, he's already pulled the computer wires out of the wall so that it's offline. So we're standing there, the computer's pulled out of the wall. Ian's talking about not only were we looking at their site, but they were looking at us.
They look at you, and then they've got all your information.
And here's Ian with the wire.
God!
No argument that anything violent was going to happen. We were afraid for him, not of him. What is inside of his head? What is going on? In 1999, the World Trade Organization was going to have a big round in Seattle, now known as the Battle of Seattle. And I went over to the Battle of Seattle, which was a big event. After that, I wake up one day. Ian is standing over me.
What are you doing going to those protests?
This is not a good way to wake up. He's not standing across the room. Ian is in my face. Ian told me I should not be around those people, thought they were un-American. It was a command. Just like at camp, we must move.
You're gonna stay away from those people. I'll do what I want.
I got mad. I'm not going to change what I'm doing just because you're uncomfortable. I don't know why you're uncomfortable. I don't know if it's the politics or if it's a paranoia of anti-government stuff. Get out of my face. Leave. I got up. I think he took that as a threat. Pretty quick, we're on the ground scuffling. And, some point in the middle of it, he just done and left. He quit fighting. He didn't say anything when he left. He got up off the floor. He left. I hadn't seen him for months before. I didn't see him for months after. I started looking into mental illness a little bit and looking up doctors for him eventually. He was just getting really sharp and really edgy with things. This was definitely an escalation from anything verbal. It's not going to end well. He was getting paranoid enough that he had to go out in the streets day or night, loaded with a gun. It's not a question of if, it's when. If you go out running around with ideas in your head that are paranoid and you're armed, something's going to happen by you or to you or both at the same time. I started asking people what to do. We've got a problem. I'm really worried. Do you know anything?
Hello?
I hear desperation in her voice. Our son's on TV. I think he just killed some people.
What?
Your gut drops out when you hear something like that on the phone. Well, that's not a mistake. Something has happened.
What are you reporting?
I'm at Roosevelt and 59th, the Cafe Races. There's been a shooting. Somebody came in and shot a bunch of people. I'm hiding in the bathroom.
Hold on, sir. How many
We need help right away.
Okay, just a second. Did you see the person that did it?
No, I did not. I was in the back.
Okay.
So they didn't get me.
You know, it was a good day. It was a beautiful day. Nothing special that morning. And I had my coffee and breakfast.
Anybody see the guy?
White man.
White guy, how old maybe?
40th.
40s. Anybody know where he went?
My wife called me. We were going to discuss, where we were at with him. We fought over that issue. We had had a separation. We'd had a divorce, a remarriage, and now a separation. But we both agree that things are getting serious and he needs some intercession in his life. We're ready to make a plan.
We got one breathing right here. We got two back here.
I hear desperation in her voice. Our son's on TV. I think he just killed some people.
Welcome back, everyone. Joining us live now, you're looking at live Air Force pictures above his shooting scene just outside the University of Washington. But this is what we know so far. There was a shooting taking place at this cafe. It looks like that is the location of Cafe Racer.
Your gut drops out when you hear something like that on the phone, Your son doesn't accidentally get put on TV. As soon as you see his picture, it falls out again.
The suspect currently on the loose. Let's get you that most recent description.
I want to show you this surveillance image from the Cafe Racer in the University District. This clearly shows the man that police were looking for. Witnesses say that he gunned down 5 people inside that cafe.
It didn't take me a half a second. Yes, that's Ian on the film. And yes, these people are dead. I heard it on the TV. They're dead at the scene.
4 of the people shot at Cafe Racer have been confirmed dead. A 5th person wounded by the shooter has been taken to the hospital in serious condition.
Oh, it was just pure panic. How do I deal with this? We did decide together that we should call the police and tell them that is our son. We will confirm that's our son's picture. There's no question in our minds. Ian had been 86 from the Cafe Racer sometime before. He had freaked people out, scared people, or said something or acted in a way that they felt threatened or uncomfortable with him. We don't want you here. You're not welcome here. If you don't leave, we'll call the police. Where's our son? He's missing. We're wondering, like all of Seattle, where he is. In the meantime, the police get a report of a carjacking murder near downtown.
911, what are you reporting? Man was gone assaulting woman on 8th. Oh my God, he just shot her.
Okay,
oh my God,
okay,
he just shot her.
okay. Are you at 1119 8th Avenue?
Yes. He's in the parking lot. He's stealing a Mercedes, a black Mercedes. He's getting in the car. He's just shot her.
We spent the day obsessively watching that TV. We didn't know how that day would end or if that would be the end of it. But those hours of waiting for what's next, the human body isn't built well for uncertainty. We're obsessively just, what's going to happen? What's going to happen?
I think a lot of people sitting at home watching this on television in horror, presumably, are thinking that same thing. What the heck is going on in our city? And in just the last hour, the man who Seattle police believe killed 3 people and injured 2 more at Cafe Racer, then fatally shot a woman during a carjacking, shot and killed himself in West Seattle as officers moved in.
He was in intensive care at the hospital with the bullet in his head from 4 o'clock until 8 or 11 when they declared him dead. I declared him dead at 3 in the morning the next day. How do you make sense of it? Where do you start?
Page. Not a body, not a weapon, not a screaming witness, but a thin rectangle of paper torn from the spine of a teenage girl's diary 31 years ago and left to rot in the dark. The rest of the notebook survives: faded pink cover, cheap silver lock bent out of shape, edges swollen from the Tokyo humidity and time. On the front, in tidy black ink, a name: Miyako Sato. On the inside flap, in English she never got to practice abroad. 2 words you hear in 100 coming-of-age movies and never expect to see in a murder file. Dear Diary. The notebook sits in a cardboard box in the basement of the Tokyo Metropolitan Police Department, buried under dust, mislabeled, almost lost. Above it, someone once stamped a single word in red that stuck to the case like a curse. Unsolved. Tokyo, spring 1990. Neon bleeding into puddles, Walkmans hissing in school bags, pagers buzzing on the hips of men in grey suits. The bubble still hasn't burst. Trains scream in and out of Shinjuku like metal arteries pumping commuters from one glass tower to another. In Narima Ward, away from the billboards and hostess clubs, it is quieter. Narrow streets, low apartment blocks, laundry hanging on balconies like flags of ordinary life. Inside one of those apartments, the Sato family mourning plays out on repeat. News anchor murmuring about the weather, miso soup steaming on the table, a younger brother complaining about math homework, a mother tying back her daughter's hair with a navy ribbon she ironed the night before. At 7:05 a.m. and 17-year-old Miyako stands at the doorway in a neatly pressed uniform, satchel on her shoulder, headphones around her neck, the ribbon a dark line across her hair. She is not the kind of girl headlines are written about. Decent grades, no trouble. The type teachers describe as serious, and classmates call a bit quiet but nice. Before she leaves, she slips the pink diary into the inner pocket of her bag, the one with the broken zipper. She always does. She writes on the train, between classes, late at night when the apartment goes still. Little things. Fragments. Her life in half-finished sentences and doodled margins. No one else ever reads them. At 7:12, she says, "Itekimasu." At 7:15, the sliding door closes with a soft wooden click. No one in the Sato apartment knows they're hearing that sound for the last time. The walk to the station is short, a straight shot past the corner bakery that smells like warm sugar, the cigarette shop with the old man who never smiles, a row of vending machines humming quietly in the cool air. She buys canned coffee from the third machine on the left, same as always, presses the cold metal to her cheek for a second just to feel something sharp against the dullness of routine. A neighbor watering a plant nods at her. A salaryman adjusts his tie and glances up long enough to notice the navy ribbon. The city records these moments like it records everything, without care. Random eyes taking random snapshots they will never know they'll be asked to replay under harsh fluorescent lights. At 7:24, she steps through the ticket gate, the beep turning her journey into data. At 7:26, she stands on the platform by the third pillar from the stairs, the one with a faint rust stain near the bottom. At 7:28, the morning train pulls in. Doors sigh open, bodies spill out and pour back in. She is one small figure in a crush of uniforms, briefcases, shopping bags. Someone remembers her boarding. No one remembers her getting off. The doors slide shut. The train shudders and vanishes into the tunnel. Somewhere between that station and her school, Tokyo swallows her whole. By 6 in the evening, the excuses have run out. She isn't home. She isn't at the library. She isn't at a friend's apartment. Her mother calls the school again, her voice tight. Yes, they say. She was in homeroom. Yes, she left after third period. No, they don't know why. Her classmates remember her sitting by the window, quietly underlining vocabulary in her English textbook, nodding when the teacher made a joke. Nothing strange, nothing dramatic, no slammed doors or whispered vows to never come back. She left her desk, left the building, walked into the afternoon crowd, and evaporated. At 8:30 p.m., Yuko Sato stands at the local Koban, the tiny police box with a bicycle parked out front and a faint smell of instant noodles inside. An officer takes her statement. Name, age, height, what she was wearing, when she left, when she was last seen. He nods, tells her teenagers run away all the time, that the city is full of love hotels and crowded karaoke rooms and bad decisions. He writes, possible runaway, in a neat hand because Tokyo has rules and categories and boxes for everything, and what doesn't fit gets pushed aside. He tells her to go home, to wait. He says, most of them come back when they get hungry. He doesn't write down that part. By the third day, her photo is on crisp white posters taped to station walls and telegraph poles. Dark hair, straight bangs, soft eyes that look like they're about to laugh. Under the picture, black characters announce what the city has already turned into gossip. Missing. Xingfang Bu Ming. A number to call. A small reward her parents can't really afford. Commuters glance, maybe feel a small twist in their stomach, then look away. The trains have to keep moving. Life has to keep moving. That's what cities do when one person disappears. They close over the absence like water. The file lands on the desk of Detective Kenji Morita at Tokyo Metropolitan Police's Missing Persons Unit. He is in his early 40s, permanently tired, the color of his tie chosen more by habit than thought. He has stacks of other cases, other faces, other families playing on loop in his head. He reads the report. Last seen at home, did not arrive at school. No history of running away. No boyfriend on record, no family violence, no money taken. Statistically, he tells himself, she'll show up. Statistically, most do. He has to believe in statistics, because the alternative is believing in something much darker. He visits the Sato apartment. Tiny Genkan crowded with shoes. A calendar on the wall with a red circle around the date of her midterm exams. Her room is the room of a girl who expected to come back. Bed unmade. Textbooks stacked on the desk. Cassette player on the floor, tape still inside, the tiny window showing a song paused halfway through. Posters of pop idols peel slightly at the corners. On the desk is an empty space where something used to sit, a square of wood a shade lighter than the rest. Her diary? He asks. Yuko nods. She carries it in her bag now. She says. She started doing that this year. It made her feel safer. He asks to see the old ones. Under the bed, in a shoebox, they find 3 earlier notebooks, different colors, same cheap lock. Morita breaks one carefully, flips through pages full of cramped handwriting and tiny stars in the margins. Entries about school lunches, TV dramas, the song stuck in her head for days. And there, buried between details that could belong to any girl in Tokyo, are the ones that don't. The man at the station stood closer today. He pretends to read the newspaper, but he doesn't turn the page. I changed cars, but he changed too. Always that man. Never a name. Morita goes to the station, stands at the 3rd pillar, watches the morning rush pass through. Men in identical grey suits, women in pastel blouses, students in uniforms like hers. He tries to imagine being a 17-year-old girl, feeling eyes on her from somewhere in this flood, unable to point to a single face. He talks to station staff. One remembers her faintly. Quiet girl, always here around the same time, the attendant says. Maybe I saw her talking to someone that week. A man in a light coat. Or maybe that was another day. They all blend. He apologizes, looks down. We're not trained to remember the ordinary ones, he says. He checks the security cameras. Not like now, where every angle is captured, backed up, stored in the cloud. In 1990, there are only a few, low resolution, pointing mostly at the ticket gates. The tapes are reused every week. By the time anyone thinks to ask for them, the days they need have already been taped over with fresh crowds and fresh forgetfulness. The city actively erases its own witness. As days stretch into weeks, the investigation sprawls and thins. Rumors multiply. Some say she ran off with an older man. Some say she jumped in front of a train and the company covered it up to keep the timetables clean. Some whisper darker things. A stalker. A classroom grudge turned fatal. Night after night, the Sato apartment glows blue with the TV left on mute, as if the light itself is standing guard. Yuko stops sleeping through the night. She sits on the edge of her daughter's bed and reads old diary entries aloud to an empty room, as if saying the words might pull the writer back. 3 years later, a body turned up in a forest outside Tokyo. Female. Teen. The bones had been scattered by animals. The police called the Satos in for dental records. That week felt like drowning. Hope saturated with dread. It wasn't her. Another family's tragedy. Their relief tasted like guilt. Time moved on. Miyako's file grew cold enough to be called what it really was. A cold case. A mystery the city had quietly accepted would never be solved. One more shadow in a place built from millions of them. Decades slide past. The city sheds phone booths and gains smartphones. Trains get quieter. Screens get brighter. The posters with her face are long gone. Only in one apartment does her presence refuse to fade. Every year on the date circled on the old calendar, her mother goes to that same station, stands by the third pillar, and watches trains arrive and leave without her daughter. With each passing year, fewer people recognize the photo she carries. Sometimes she opens one of the old diaries and lets her fingers rest on the ink her daughter laid down when she still believed every tomorrow was guaranteed. She wonders what the last entry in the missing pink notebook said. She tells herself she will die without knowing. She accepts it like a sentence. And then, in 2021, a junior officer in a badly lit basement opens a cardboard box and finds a diary that was never supposed to surface again. A diary that was logged by no one, catalogued by no system. A diary someone hid instead of reading. He feels the weight of it in his hands, light as air, heavy as a stone. He feels words pressing against the paper from the other side of 3 lost decades. He carries it upstairs to a detective who was a child when Miyako vanished, a woman who grew up on trains, just like the one that swallowed the girl, and lays it on her desk. The lock is bent. The edges are soft. One page, near the end, has been ripped out so violently that the spine is scarred. On the inside back cover, a line appears only when the light hits at the right angle, as if it doesn't quite want to be seen. If something happens to me, it will be because of him. No name. No face. Just that one word. Him. In a city of millions, a pronoun sharp enough to cut 31 years of silence wide open. The room goes quiet when she reads it out loud, not because of what it says, but because of how little it says. If something happens to me, it will be because of him. No date, no explanation. One sentence that turns every man in a city of 13 million into a suspect, and every glance on a crowded platform into a potential crime scene. Detective Aya Nakamura closes the diary slowly, as if it might bite. The latex of her gloves squeaks against the worn cover. She is 38 years old, hair pulled back in a no-nonsense knot, blazer shrugged over a shirt that's seen too many long nights. She has moved through enough mat-tick-B-un files to know how they usually end, with nothing. with stale paper and dead phone numbers and parents who no longer answer the door. But this is different. This is a voice from the dead that somebody tried to bury inside a box inside another box. She looks at the evidence log. No mention of the diary. No item number. No signature. It simply appears, like the river decided to spit it out of the archive's flood of forgotten things. Aya has learned to distrust coincidences, especially in cold cases. "Who boxed this?" she asks again. The junior officer shrugs, eyes flicking from the pink cover to her face. "The label says it was last updated in 2002, before we switched systems. Half of those old boxes are a mess. Maybe it was filed later. Maybe someone just forgot to tag it. Forgot." She thinks of the careful way the page was torn. How the back cover sentence only appears when you tilt it into the light. Forgetfulness doesn't rip paper that violently. Forgetfulness doesn't hide things in the dark. "Get me everything we have from the original investigation," Aya says. "Witness statements, photographs, recordings, Morita's notes. I want to see what they missed. It takes hours to pull it out. 27 binders, 3 plastic evidence bags, 2 cassette tapes with labels written in faded marker. Sato Family, 04-1990, and Witnesses Platform." Aya sets them on the table like relics. She presses play. On one tape, the sound of an air conditioner hums behind voices thick with grief. Yuko Sato, her voice younger, raw, answering questions about that morning. What Miyako wore, what she ate, whether she'd seemed sad, whether she'd argued with anyone. Over and over, "No, no, no." And then the crack in the word. She said sometimes she felt watched. The interviewer nods. You can hear it in his tone, but the question that should come next never does. The tape jumps to a different day, a different voice. Someone decided that line didn't matter. On the Witnesses Platform tape, Aya hears the station attendant, the vague memory of a grey coat, a maybe conversation. The words, "I was busy," repeated like a mantra. Trains, schedules, timetables more real than the girl who disappeared between them. None of them ever mention a diary. None of them mention him. She calls the retirement office and tracks down Kenji Morita. She finds him in a small apartment in Saitama, slippers by the door, TV tuned permanently to some variety show no one is really watching. He recognizes the name before she finishes the sentence. "Sato Miyako," he says, staring at the middle distance. "That case still in the system?" "It is now," Aya replies. He pours tea with hands that shake slightly. His hair has gone white, but his eyes are sharp in a way that bothers her. Sharp like someone who remembers exactly where he cut corners. "You ever see this?" she asks, placing the diary on the table between them. He stiffens at the sight of it just for a second. A ghost of reaction. If she blinked, she might have missed it. "No," he says too quickly. "We had photocopies of older journals, I remember that. But this one, no. If we'd had that, maybe—" He trails off, leaving the sentence hanging over the steam of the tea. She opens it to the back cover, tilts it so the line shows. He leans in. His mouth tightens. "Did you miss that?" she asks softly. "Or did you never get the chance to see it?" Morita takes off his glasses and rubs his eyes. "Back then," he says, "we didn't have time to sit with every scribble. Missing kids were a flood. Runaways, fights, divorces. We triaged. If there was something like that, maybe it got buried. We were looking for concrete things. Tickets, alibis, CCTV. The city eats evidence. Sometimes we helped it. His honesty is ugly, but at least it's real. Did anyone in 1990 have a reason to make this disappear?" Aya asks. "Any politician, any officer, any witness you felt pressure around?" Morita hesitates. That pause again. "There was a complaint," he says slowly. "Not from the family. From a man. Said we'd harassed him. He was a regular commuter on her line. He met our description, more or less. Grey coat, briefcase. We brought him in, asked a few questions. Nothing rough. He had an alibi from his company. They pushed back. Sent letters. Suggested we were wasting resources. What was his name? Morita stares at the diary like it might answer for him. I don't remember, he lies. Back at headquarters, Aya doesn't waste time digging through card catalogues for the name of a man a retired detective doesn't want to say out loud. She has the advantage of a decade the original case didn't. Scanners, databases, the ability to turn paper into searchable text. She sends the old reports through the machine, watches Miyako's world dissolve into pixels and reassemble on her screen. Patterns emerge. Man in grey coat. Office worker. Gets off at same stop. Phrases repeated in different statements. No one remembered his name, but someone once wrote it down on a form that was misfiled, then corrected, then shuffled. It takes 3 hours and a headache, but there it is. Katsumi Hayashida, 32 in 1990. Employee at a mid-sized trading company. Address in Narima, 2 stations away from the Sato family. She pulls his old file. Thin. Too thin. Interview transcript only 3 pages long. Alibi confirmed by a single manager. No follow-up. A note scribbled in the margin. Unlikely. Drop. The ink of that word is darker than the rest. Fresher. Added later, maybe. Added by who? Cold cases are supposed to be about absence, but Aya feels too much presence here. Must, can't, drop, forget. Fingers pushing things off the table. She sets up a new board in the cold case room. Old photos, map of the line, copies of diary entries pinned next to witness sketches. In the center, a high school yearbook photo of Miyako, slightly pixelated from being blown up. Underneath, the phrase from the back cover in block capitals. If something happens to me, it will be because of him. She circles him in red. Then she writes Hayashida beside it. For now, for lack of any other him that fits. When she knocks on the Sato family's door, it is not 1990 anymore. The calendar has flipped 3 decades. The apartment has shrunk with grief. The furniture is older. The TV is flatter. The framed photo of Miyako on the shelf has not changed at all. Yuko Sato opens the door like she's been opening it for ghosts for 31 years. Are you here about my daughter? She asks, before Aya can say a word. Yes. Aya says, I'm reopening the case. That phrase hits the room like a gust of cold air. Reopening, as if it were ever truly closed. Yuko sits at the low table, fingers tightening around her teacup. Daichi, now a grown man with lines at the corners of his eyes that shouldn't belong to someone his age, hovers in the doorway, unsure whether to join or hide. Aya places a photocopy of the back cover sentence on the table. Did you know she wrote this? She asks. Yuko reads it once, then again, lips moving silently. Her face crumples in a way Aya has seen too many times. The realization that your child was more afraid than you ever understood. She never showed me, Yuko whispers. She wrote about small things. School, TV. Sometimes she would joke that the diary understood her better than we did. I thought it was just teen talk. Do you know who him might be? Aya presses gently. Did she ever complain about someone? A teacher, a neighbor, a man at the station? Yuko's eyes flick to the window, to the memory of a platform she's stood on every year since. There was talk, she says slowly. She mentioned a man who seemed to always be on the same train. She said he made her uncomfortable. I told her not to be silly, to stand with other girls, to move cars if she had to. I should have done more. I should have gone with her. I should have... It's not your fault. Aya cuts in, because if she doesn't say it now, it will fester in the air forever like mold. If anyone failed her, it was us, the system, the ones who stamped cold case and walked away. Daichi speaks from the doorway, voice flat. They said, Mat tik be an on TV, he says. Like it was a story, a segment between commercials. I was 9. I thought maybe she'd come back because people knew her face. Then they stopped saying her name. Aya looks at him. Do you remember anyone around the building back then? Any man who didn't belong? He shakes his head. I remember Mom crying in the kitchen and Dad staring at the TV like it would spit her out. I remember posters. I remember kids at school saying their parents told them not to talk to me. Like whatever happened to her might be catching. The words land heavy. This is what a cold case does to a community. It turns caution into superstition and compassion into distance. Before she leaves, Aya asks one more question. Did the police ever show you a man and ask if he looked familiar? She says, a photo, a sketch, anyone? Yuko closes her eyes. Yes, she says. Once. A serious-looking man in a suit. They said he rode the same train. I didn't recognize him. They seemed relieved, like it meant less work for them. Do you remember his name? Yuko shakes her head. Just that he smelled like cigarettes. It stayed in the room after he left. Back at her desk, Aya takes the old interview transcript of Katsumi Hayashida and lays it beside a recent printout. Because in a city that pretends to forget, records remember. Tax records, property registries, employment histories. Somewhere under a different job title and older photo, men like him keep existing. She finds him not in Tokyo, but in Chiba. A quiet residential street. 2-story house. Married. 2 children in high school. On paper, just another middle-aged salaryman who survived the bubble burst and the lost decades and kept his head down. Online, his footprint is almost clean. A couple of company golf outing photos. A LinkedIn profile he barely uses. No arrests, no complaints, no reason for his name to be pinned under the word him on a cold caseboard, except a teenage girl's diary and a retired detective's flicker of guilt. Aya doesn't go to his door right away. She walks the route instead. From the station to what used to be the Sato apartment. From there to what used to be his address. The city has shifted in 31 years. Shops closed, new convenience stores opened, vending machines replaced. But the bones are the same. The distance between their paths is the same 400 meters of concrete and coincidence. She stops on the spot where the corner bakery once stood, now a chain cafe with students hunched over laptops. She pictures Miyako passing here with her canned coffee, diary in her bag, headphones around her neck, eyes on the ground. She pictures a man in a grey coat standing just far enough away to be deniable, just close enough to be felt. Cold case, she murmurs under her breath, tasting the phrase like something sour. Manmakila. Strange clue. Missing page. Missing girl. Missing suspect. On the train back to headquarters, she flips the diary open again, this time not to the last page, but to the middle. She traces the patterns with her eyes. The days she mentioned him are clustered around exams, holidays, late club meetings, days where she would have been at the station earlier or later than usual, days where routine broke, and so did her sense of safety. On one page, barely legible where the pen scratched too lightly, she finds a detail no one had underlined in 1990. He stood close enough today that I could see the scar on his right hand. Miyako wrote, like a thin white line across the knuckles. I pretended to read. My heart was so loud I thought everyone could hear it. Aya closes the diary with a snap. In the blurry group photo on the company golf outing page for a certain Hayashida, third man from the left raises a glass. On his right hand, the resolution is low, but under the pixelation you can just make out it. A thin, pale line across his knuckles, exactly where a frightened girl remembered it, exactly where no one thought to look 31 years ago. The missing page is still gone. The sentence about him is still just a sentence. The case is still officially an unsolved mat tik bi un. But for the first time in decades, the story has a direction again. A line of ink that points away from the diary, through time, through crowds, toward a front door in Chiba that has no idea someone is finally walking up the path. The house is smaller than she imagined. For 31 years, the idea of him has been large enough to swallow a family whole, to haunt a platform, to turn a missing girl into a legend whispered in late-night reruns of true crime shows. In Aya Nakamura's head, the man behind that pronoun had grown into something towering, monstrous. Instead, she finds a 2-story box in Chiba with a narrow driveway, a bicycle leaning against the wall, and a pair of sneakers too small to belong to anyone but a teenager. The kind of house real estate ads call cozy and neighbors call nice. She stands on the sidewalk for a moment longer than she should, like a diver on the edge of a pool that might be deeper than it looks. Her coat is buttoned up, but the chill she feels has nothing to do with the wind. In her bag, photocopies of diary pages, the old interview transcript, a still image of a scarred hand lifted from a grainy golf photo. In her head, the sentence from the back cover flashing over and over like a neon sign. If something happens to me, it will be because of him. She presses the doorbell. Chimes sound faintly inside. Footsteps. A pause while someone checks the peephole, or doesn't. The door opens. He looks like any other middle-aged man dragged away from a TV drama. Softening jawline, hair thinning at the temples, glasses slipping down his nose. A sweater that has seen too many winters. For a heartbeat, Aya feels the disorienting sense that she has the wrong door, wrong man, wrong life. Then she sees it, the white line across the knuckles of his right hand. Faint, but unmistakable. Exactly where a frightened girl once wrote it down like a private warning to herself. Hayashida Katsumi-san, Shirisatsu. He blinks. Yes, can I help you? She shows her badge. The words Tokyo Metropolitan Police catch the light, pull his attention like a fishhook. Something behind his eyes tightens. It's about an old case, she says. From 1990, a missing girl from Narima. Sato Miyako. For most people, 31 years is enough for any name to blur. For him, it lands with surgical precision. His pupils flare, then narrow. His grip on the door stiffens. It takes less than a second, but that's all Aya needs. Guilty men react to ghosts like that. Innocent men have to search their memory first. He recovers quickly. A small practiced chuckle. So long ago, he says. I remember. The police asked questions back then. I'd almost forgotten. Almost. The word tastes wrong in her ears. May I come in? She asks. He hesitates just long enough to tell her he wants to say no. Then he glances over his shoulder into the house. My wife is out, he says. But I suppose it's fine. One moment. He leads her into a living room that smells faintly of curry and laundry detergent. Family photos line a shelf. 2 teenagers in school uniforms, a woman in an apron, smiling. A younger version of him in a suit, tie straight, expression neutral. Aya's eyes skim every frame, registering but not lingering. Happy families can hang like wallpaper over rotten walls. She's seen it before. Would you like tea? He asks. Polite, automatic. No, thank you. She sits where he gestures, on a couch with patterned cushions. He perches opposite, right hand resting too carefully on his knee, as if he knows what it says about him. You were interviewed in 1990. Aya begins, flipping open a folder. As a regular commuter on the same line as Sato-san. Do you remember what you told the police? He frowns, as if reaching back through cobwebbed memory. That I saw posters, he says slowly. That I might have seen her on the platform. Everyone saw her at some point, I suppose. It was crowded. They asked where I was on that day. I told them at work. They called my manager. It was all embarrassing. He smiles weakly. They looked at me like I was some kind of criminal. My boss was not happy. The old note in the file, complaint, company pressure, drop, echoes in her head. You don't remember speaking to her? Aya asks. No, he says, crisp, too fast. Why would I? We were strangers. She slides a photocopied page across the coffee table. A simple line drawing of the station platform, pillars numbered, crude figures like game pieces, a tiny arrow with the word me written in careful English near the third pillar, another arrow with him near a trash can. The drawing is from one of Miyako's earlier diaries, a thing that had been dismissed as teenage dramatization at the time. To Aya, it looks like a map. She wrote about you, Aya says. Not by name, but often. A man who stood in the same place every morning, who pretended to read the paper, who followed when she changed cars. She meets his eyes. You said you barely noticed her. She noticed you enough to diagram it. Something flickers in his expression, a crack in the calm. Then he laughs again, smaller this time. Teenagers, he says. They see patterns in everything. Maybe she thought I was looking at her when I was just standing there. I had my own routines. We all did. And the scar? Aya asks quietly. He blinks. What? She wrote about that too, Aya says. A thin white line across the knuckles of your right hand. She found it distinctive. Her gaze drops pointedly to his fist. He lifts it, looks at it like it doesn't quite belong to him. This? He says. Old injury, from after that time. I cut my hand on a broken glass in 91. Your girl must have seen someone else. Your girl. The possessive makes something unpleasant crawl along Aya's spine. You left your Narima address in 1991. Aya says, flipping another page. Moved companies in 92. Was that before or after the glass? He doesn't answer that. Why now? He asks instead, voice cool. After all these years, why dig this up? Surely your department has newer tragedies to chase. A diary resurfaced. Aya says. One we should have read 31 years ago. It mentions being watched, being followed, being afraid something would happen because of him. She lets the pronoun hang between them like a suspended blade. We're correcting an old failure. He sits back, crosses his legs, uncrosses them. So you've decided that him is me, he says. Based on a girl's imagination and an old scar. Based on patterns. Aya replies. Based on proximity. Based on the fact that you were the only regular commuter singled out in the original investigation, and someone wrote drop beside your name in darker ink than the rest of the report. Based on a missing diary page torn out with enough force to damage the spine, and a diary that vanished from the file until last week. His jaw tightens. Are you accusing your own colleagues of a cover-up? I'm accusing someone of not wanting this looked at too closely, she says. Sometimes that someone is lazy, sometimes that someone is paid, sometimes that someone is afraid of what they'll find if they keep going. He smiles then, but it doesn't reach his eyes. Have you considered, he says slowly, that maybe your him is just the idea of a man? Girls are taught to be afraid, of shadows, of looks, of nothing. Maybe she was frightened of growing up. Maybe she put that fear on the nearest face. Maybe you're chasing a ghost your own department conjured. The argument is old, worn smooth by use. Hysterical girl, imaginary threats, nothing happened. Aya has heard it in different languages, dressed in different suits. Did you keep any newspaper clippings from that time? She asks. Of the case? His eyes flicker to a corner of the room where a cabinet stands closed. It's small, a reflex, but she doesn't miss it. No, he says. Why would I? It was unpleasant. Do you mind if I use your restroom? She asks suddenly, changing direction. He blinks. Of course, down the hall, second door. She stands, following his directions, but her eyes track the layout of the house as she moves. The cabinet he glanced at is by the hallway, old-fashioned, with a drawer that doesn't sit quite flush. She takes longer than necessary in the bathroom, listening. No footsteps behind her. No doors opening. On her way back, she pauses just half a second too long by the cabinet. Enough to register the faint scent of paper and something older. Ink, maybe. Enough to see, through the thin gap, a stack of newsprint edges. She doesn't open it. Not yet. No warrant. No backup. Just her and a man who might or might not be the reason a girl never came home. Instead, she files the detail away in the crowded evidence folder in her brain, adds a tab marked cabinet, underlined twice. Back on the couch, she changes tactics. In 1990, she says, you told the police you barely noticed her. That's not a crime. It's normal. People pass each other every day without seeing. But if that's the truth, then you have nothing to worry about now. We're just finishing a story, bringing some peace to a family. He looks at her for a long time, eyes searching her face for something. Weakness, doubt, an angle. Peace, he repeats. That's a nice word. Do you think reopening wounds brings peace? I think pretending they don't exist is worse, she says. He stands abruptly. I've been cooperative, he says. I've answered your questions. I have a meeting. If you need anything else, please contact my lawyer. He is already walking her to the door. The conversation is over on his terms. She lets him have that for now. On the doorstep, she slips a business card into his hand. If you remember anything, she says, even small things, a conversation, a detail, I'm easy to find. He doesn't look at the card. I remember plenty, he says softly. The question is, what's worth saying after 31 years? The door closes. The chime sounds again, muffled. Aya walks back to the street with her hands in her pockets and her mind racing. Outside, the quiet residential road looks like any other. Kids' bicycles, plastic plant pots, a cat washing itself on a wall. Inside, a man with a scar on his hand stands in a living room that holds a cabinet that smells like old news and fear. She has no confession, no body, no physical evidence that connects him to anything but a train route and a frightened girl's ink. To charge him now would be to build a case on air. Cold cases don't crack with a single conversation. They erode slowly, with persistence. At headquarters, she pulls employment records, looks closer at the years after 1990. A note in his company file in 91, transfer requested due to interpersonal conflict. No details. She tracks down the manager who signed it. Retired now, living alone with more time than he wants to think about the past. Hi, Ashida? The man says over coffee in a chain shop. Quiet. Kept to himself. Too much, maybe. There were rumors. A girl on the train. It was nothing concrete, just the way people talked. When the police showed up, the higher-ups panicked. Bad for the company image. They told us to cooperate, then told us to forget. We moved him to a different line, different office. Out of sight, out of mind. Did anyone ever use the word stalker? Aya asks. The manager flinches at the English term. Not then, he says. It wasn't popular yet. We called it being too enthusiastic. We laughed. We shouldn't have. He stirs his coffee. I remember thinking at the time that he looked more relieved than upset when they dropped it. Dropped it. The words keep circling back like a train on a loop, stopping at the same stations. Forget. Unlikely. Drop. Aya feels the old anger that drove her into this job, the one she usually keeps hidden beneath procedure and professional distance. The idea that most mat-tick-be-un cases don't stay mysteries because they're unsolvable, but because someone, somewhere, decided solving them was inconvenient. Back in the cold case room, under the fluorescent hum, she pins a new photo to the board. Hayashida, as he is now, clipped from a corporate brochure. Under it, she writes in narrow, careful letters, routine suspect. Then she crosses out routine and writes primary. She still doesn't have enough. The missing diary page gnaws at her. What did Miyako write there, on the last night of her life? A name? An address? A decision? Did she finally put him into letters that could have dragged him into a cell 3 decades earlier? And if she did, who tore it out? The man who read it over her shoulder? The officer who realized what it meant? Someone in between, thinking they were saving someone else? Aya goes back to the archive. She asks for the original evidence packaging logs. She notices that the box containing the diary was handled by exactly one person in 1990 besides Morita, a young clerk named Kuroda who left the force in 93 to join private security. She tracks him down too. She asks him direct questions. He gives her blurred answers. Paper got lost. Boxes got moved. Everyone makes mistakes. Some mistakes look a lot like choices, she says. He doesn't deny it. He just looks away. By the time she leaves the office that night, Tokyo is a mirror-flash river of headlights and neon again. 31 years have turned it into something sleeker on the surface, but underneath it is the same city that swallowed a girl between one station and the next. She stands on a crowded platform, the air thick with the smell of brakes and perfume and cheap cologne. She finds the third pillar out of habit now, looks at the place where a 17-year-old once stood, diary in her bag, pen carving quiet warnings into paper no one would read. Announcements blare, doors beep, people surge. For a moment, Aya closes her eyes and listens as if the station itself might answer. Cold case, Thenfo, lost child, him. When she opens them, she sees a reflection in the train window, her own face, superimposed over the blur of moving lights. For a second, in that glass, she's not alone. A softer face beside hers. Straight bangs, a navy ribbon. Watching. If something happens to me, that reflection seems to say, it will be because of him. Aya steps onto the train, fingers tightening around the strap, and decides, on a packed car full of strangers, that she is not going to let 31 years of silence win. The missing page has already led her to a doorstep. The next step is crossing it again, but this time, with a warrant, with a team, with the weight of a whole failed investigation behind her like a tide finally turning. Cold cases are stories that refused to end. She has just given this one a new beginning. Rain falls in sheets over Chiba the next morning, washing the colors from the street. A steady gray curtain that makes everything look softer, quieter, less real. Detective Aya Nakamura sits in her car, the windshield wipers slicing at the downpour, engine idling low. Across the street, behind a fogged window, stands the same two-story house. Hayashida's house, its white paint running darker in the wet. The bicycle by the wall drips steadily. Curtains closed. No sign of movement. Ordinary. Too ordinary. She's been here for 2 hours. Watching. Waiting for something small. A twitch of a curtain. A shadow passing behind the glass. A light flickering at the wrong time. It's surveillance without authorization. She knows that. But sometimes rules are the reason cases stay dead. Her phone buzzes against the dashboard. The number is internal. Cold Case HQ. Detective Nakamura, a voice says, low and tired. This is Takeda. You're not logged in at the office. I'm assuming you're working. Working? She says. A pause. You've made noise. The division chief got a call. Something about you bothering a private citizen in Chiba? Aya doesn't answer. The wipers squeak again. The house remains still. I know you, Nakamura. Takeda says. You chase ghosts like they owe you rent. But this one, 31 years, no body, no crime scene, no forensics. You have to let it breathe. You have nothing. I have a diary that vanished from evidence, she says. A name that was dropped after pressure from a company with money, and a man whose hand matches a scar a girl wrote about the week she disappeared. Scar and diary don't make a conviction, he says. They make a story. We're not journalists. Then maybe we should have been, she snaps, because the journalists are the only ones who ever kept her name alive. Static hums between them. He exhales sharply. Fine. You have 48 hours. After that, I want you back on assigned cases. If you burn bridges again, I can't keep covering you. He hangs up. Aya drops the phone onto the passenger seat, staring at her own reflection in the rearview mirror. Eyes ringed in sleepless purple, hair damp against her collar. She thinks of Miyako Sato's face, the soft, laughing photo on the missing posters. 17 forever, suspended in ink. No second chance. No job to lose. No rules to follow. At 9:17, the door to the house opens. Hayashida steps out, umbrella in hand, briefcase clasped neatly. Still the company man. Still the same rhythm after 31 years. He locks the door twice, checks it once, and heads toward the station. Aya waits until he's out of sight before moving. She crosses the street, rain biting her cheeks, climbs the short path to the porch. The door is locked, of course. She tests the window by the hallway, an old sliding frame. It gives slightly. Enough for a look, not enough for entry. Through the glass she can see the edge of the living room. A table, a couch, the faint outline of the cabinet that caught her attention yesterday. Her pulse beats a slow, deliberate rhythm in her ears. She doesn't break in. Not yet. But she takes a photo through the fogged pane. The cabinet's top drawer is open just a crack now. It wasn't before. Inside, a hint of newsprint, yellowed. Something moved. Someone touched it after she left. She steps back, lets the rain wash over her, erasing footprints from the path. When she returns to Tokyo that evening, she finds a brown envelope on her desk, unmarked. Inside, a single photograph. Not of the house, not of Hayashida. It's from 1990, black and white, grainy. A girl standing on a platform, holding a can of coffee, eyes turned slightly toward the camera. Behind her, a man in a grey coat, blurred, face half hidden behind a newspaper. The caption typed along the bottom margin. Shinjuku Line, March 13th, 1990, 7:26 a.m. Aya's stomach tightens. The date. The last day Miyako was seen alive. The photograph should not exist. There were no surviving camera tapes from that platform. She confirmed it. She flips it over. On the back, faint pencil writing. Original print. Confiscated. Property of T.M. T.M. Takeda Masaru Timorita, the retired detective. Aya drives back to Saitama that night. The rain has thinned to drizzle, but the sky hangs heavy and colorless. Morita answers the door in a robe, surprise flickering into resignation when he sees her. "You found it," he says simply. "Someone sent it to me," she replies, holding the photo up. "Why didn't this make it into evidence?" He studies the picture for a long moment. His fingers tremble slightly as they touch the edge. "Because I was told it didn't matter." "By who?" "The company lawyers," he says. "They said it was coincidence. The photo was taken by a street photographer, one of those hobbyists who shot commuters. He thought he caught something. A man staring, a girl uncomfortable. And he brought it to us. We saw the date, the station, the resemblance. I wanted to pursue it." His voice lowers. "My superior told me to stop. Said the man had connections. Said the department couldn't afford another harassment scandal. So I filed it under non-probative material. That's what they called it. And the photographer? Dead. Car accident 2 weeks later." Aya's blood goes cold. "You think that's a coincidence?" He shrugs. 31 years of coincidence, detective. That's all this case ever was. Coincidence and rot." She slides the photo back into her pocket. "You kept it." He nods slowly. "Because I knew someday someone like you would come along and ask why we didn't do more." When she leaves his apartment, the night air feels heavier, like the city itself is holding its breath. The next day, Aya sits in the cold case office, lights dim, the board covered in red lines that connect faces, times, addresses. In the center, the photograph. The grey blur of a man's coat, a scarred hand clutching a folded newspaper. A girl who doesn't know she's seconds from disappearing forever. She replays Hayashida's words from the interview. "Teenagers see patterns in everything." Maybe she thought I was looking at her when I was just standing there. But the man in the photo isn't just standing. His head is turned, not toward the timetable, not toward the train, toward her. Aya enlarges the scan, pixel by pixel, until the scar on the hand becomes visible again. The same faint line. She prints the photo, pins it under the words written in red. him. That evening, she receives an email from an untraceable address. Subject line, "You shouldn't have gone back to the house." No body text, no attachments, no signature. She checks the timestamp. 2 hours after she left Chiba. Someone's watching her now. When she finally gets home, her apartment feels wrong. The door isn't forced, but her coffee cup is in the wrong place, the curtains slightly parted. Her breath fogs the air. She knows this feeling. Intrusion without evidence, a message without words. She sweeps for bugs, cameras, finds none. But the unease remains, crawling under her skin. That night, she dreams of the train, of the third pillar, of Miyako standing with her diary clutched to her chest. In the dream, the platform is empty except for one other person, a man holding a newspaper that drips water onto the concrete. He lowers it slowly. His face is a blur of static. He whispers something she can't hear, and when she wakes, the phrase is still echoing, like it burned itself into her ears. She wrote my name. Aya doesn't believe in ghosts, but she believes in memory, the kind that lingers in places and objects. She's seen it before, in victims' rooms, in evidence boxes, in the way the air changes when you speak the truth out loud. The next morning, she files a request for a search warrant on Hayashida's home. The prosecutor rejects it. Insufficient cause, the report reads. No probable link to criminal act. She doesn't bother arguing. She's already working around it. Through an informant in the cybercrimes division, she gets limited access to the department's digital scanner logs, the ones that recorded the cold case digitization project. Every document scanned leaves a digital fingerprint. The Sato file shows one anomaly. The diary was scanned 5 days before the official inventory date. And the scanner's user login? Kuroda. She goes to his security company's office that night. He's older, heavier, sitting behind a desk stacked with contracts. The moment she mentions the diary, his face tightens. I don't know what you're talking about, he says. You removed evidence, she says. You tagged it years later so no one would notice. His eyes flick towards the window. I was told to. By who? He exhales. You're going to ruin yourself, detective. There are people who don't want this old ghost coming out of the river again. She leans forward. Then give me something to drown with. He hesitates, then reaches into a drawer and pulls out a small envelope, yellowed at the edges. Inside, a single strip of paper. Torn. The missing diary page. The handwriting is hurried, panicked, the ink smudged from sweat or rain. He said he would follow me home today. I told him no. He smiled and said, It doesn't matter. I think he knows where I live. There's a stain on the bottom corner. Faint, brown, old, not ink. Where did you get this? Aya whispers. It came with the diary, Kuroda says. We were supposed to destroy it. My supervisor changed his mind last minute, said to archive it quietly. I kept it. Maybe I was afraid to burn something that still had a pulse. Aya's hands shake as she seals the fragment in an evidence bag. You realize what this is? She says. It's 31 years too late, he says softly. But yes. She drives back through the city with the fragment on the seat beside her, headlights glinting off the plastic. Every drop of rain on the windshield feels like Morse code tapping out the same word over and over. Proof. 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 At headquarters, she logs the fragment officially, uploads a high-resolution scan, and runs an ink analysis request. If it matches the diary, it will verify authorship. If the DNA in the stain yields anything, even trace, it could open the door the warrant refused to. When the lab tech calls 2 days later, his voice is shaking. Detective, you need to come down here. She does. He shows her the results. The handwriting matches. The paper fibers match. And the stain? Degraded. Partial, but clear enough to classify. Is human blood. Female. The fragment is real. The warning is real. The last words of a girl who walked off a train and into disappearance. Aya stands in the sterile glow of the lab, staring at the fragment sealed under glass. 31 years of silence reduced to 10 words and a single smear of blood. Her phone buzzes again. Unknown number. she answers, a man's voice. Calm, deliberate. Detective Nakamura, I heard you've been digging through old ghosts. Who is this? A soft chuckle. Familiar. You shouldn't have gone to my house. Click. The line dies. Aya lowers the phone slowly, the hum of fluorescent lights loud in her ears. For a long moment, she doesn't move. Then she turns to the lab tech, voice steady but low. Run that blood sample again, she says, and start a cross-check with the Sato family's DNA profiles. If it's Miyako's, we're not looking for a missing girl anymore. Outside, the rain starts again, washing the city clean for the 1,000th time and leaving the same stains behind. Because now there is a blood, now there is a page, and now there is no going back. The lab confirms it at 7:42 p.m. The blood on the torn diary page belongs to Miyako Sato. 31 years evaporate in a sentence. The printer whirs, the lights hum, and the city outside keeps moving, oblivious, as if justice arriving late is no justice at all. Aya Nakamura stands still long enough to feel the weight of it press into her ribs. Every missing report, every poster, every unslept night of a mother waiting by the window, all of it folds into one drop of blood sealed behind glass. The girl wasn't just gone. She was hurt. She was afraid. She left her fear behind on purpose. The texts keep talking, their words a blur. Contamination, chain of custody, DNA degradation, legal language that tastes like dust. Aya nods at the right times, signs the forms, tucks the report under her arm, and walks out into the corridor. The fluorescent buzz fades behind her. The night air feels heavier now, like the world is holding its breath. She gets in her car and drives without thinking. The city blurs by, high-rises, ramen shops, vending machine glow, 1,000 stories unconnected but parallel. She drives until the skyline thins, until the streets turn suburban again, until she's back in Chiba, in front of the same house with the white walls and the quiet windows. Inside, she imagines him eating dinner, watching the news, maybe flipping channels, maybe even seeing a small segment about new evidence in a Tokyo cold case, and changing the channel before it finishes. Some people live with ghosts so long they forget to be afraid of them. She wants to remind him. Her phone buzzes. Takeda again. You're off the case, he says before she can speak. His voice is tight, rehearsed, full of orders he doesn't want to give. Internal Affairs got wind of your unsanctioned visit. The prosecutor's furious. They want you to hand everything over and stand down. Effective immediately. She laughs softly, bitterly. They can file another report in 31 years if they want to know how that feels. This isn't a game, he says. No. No, she replies. It's not. It's a murder. The line goes quiet, then softer. You think he did it? I know he did it, she says. I just don't know how he got away with it. When she hangs up, she sits in the dark for a while, watching the house. The curtains shift once. A shadow crosses the living room. She starts the car again, but this time she doesn't drive away. She parks 2 streets over, walks the rest of the way, silent, her shoes sinking into wet leaves. The back gate isn't locked. The rain from earlier has turned the soil soft, the grass slick. She moves around the side, flashlight covered by her hand, a narrow beam cutting through the dark. She's not supposed to be here. But then again, Miyako wasn't supposed to disappear either. She reaches the back door. It's old wood, slightly warped. The lock's been replaced, modern, heavy, with a keypad entry. She studies it. The code pad is clean except for 2 digits worn smoother than the rest. 1 and 9. Maybe a year, maybe habit. She tries once. 1990. The soft click feels almost like permission. Inside, the air is still, tinged with the faint, sweet smell of incense, the kind used in temples or funerals. She closes the door quietly behind her, every sound amplified in the silence. The house feels alive, like it's listening. She moves toward the living room. The cabinet is there, the one that drew her attention before, sitting beneath a framed photo of a family picnic. The drawer is closed again. She opens it. Inside, newspapers. Dozens of them, all clipped to the same story. Narima teen missing. Police seek leads. Cold case, 1990, mystery still haunts Tokyo. Detective's career ends without answers. Each article has underlines in red pen, names circled, dates highlighted, every piece of press the case ever had, archived by the man who swore he barely remembered it. And under the stack, something smaller, a cassette tape, labeled in shaky handwriting. Sato 3-13-90. Aya freezes, her pulse slams in her ears. She slips the tape into her pocket, closes the drawer, scans the rest of the room. The shelves are lined with books, corporate law, sales psychology, self-help. Nothing strange until she notices the space behind the books on the second row. Empty. A cavity. She slides one out. Inside the hollow, sealed in plastic, are photographs. She takes one out carefully. The flash burned overexposed edges, but the subject is clear. The platform. Miyako again. Same uniform. Same ribbon. A man in a grey coat standing a few steps behind her. The date stamped in the corner matches the day she vanished. She flips through the stack. More photos. Same angle. Different days. Someone was watching her for weeks. Her breath catches. Then the front door creaks. Footsteps. Heavy. Deliberate. She kills the flashlight instantly. Crouches low behind the couch. Heart pounding so hard she can feel it in her fingertips. The living room light clicks on. Detective Nakamura. Hayashida's voice says, calm and close. I was expecting you. The words roll out like a confession rehearsed in silence. She doesn't move. You shouldn't have come here, he continues. You think ghosts like being disturbed. They rot quietly for a reason. She risks a glance from behind the couch. He's standing by the door, one hand still on the frame, the other holding something small and black. A remote? No, a recorder. You took the diary, she says, standing slowly. You read it, didn't you? His smile doesn't reach his eyes. Everyone read it. Police, lawyers, parents. But only one of us understood it. What did she write on the page you tore out? He tilts his head. You found that too. You followed her. Aya says, you watched her for weeks. You scared her enough to write your name. And when she told you no... Don't pretend to know her. He interrupts, voice rising. You weren't there. She smiled at me. Every morning. She knew. She wanted to be seen. She wanted to be safe, Aya snaps. His face hardens. Safe is a fantasy. Safety is what people promise when they mean control. She looked at me like I was the first person who saw her for who she really was. Then why is she dead? Silence. He exhales long and slow. Because she changed her mind. The air between them turns electric. She told you she'd go to the police, Aya says quietly. You couldn't let that happen. He doesn't deny it. She fell, he says instead. You can't prove otherwise. You photographed her, Aya says. You kept clippings. You kept her voice on tape. He smiles again. You broke into my home. Who's the criminal now? He takes a step forward. Aya's hand goes to her sidearm. Not to draw, just to remind him she has it. Where's the body? She asks. He glances past her, toward the window, toward the trees beyond. You're asking the wrong question. Then what's the right one? Why she trusted me enough to get in the car? Aya feels the floor tilt beneath her. You drove her. He doesn't answer. He walks to the table, picks up a small envelope, and slides it toward her. Take it, he says. Inside, a map, faded, water-stained, folded a dozen times. A red circle drawn deep in the woods north of Chiba. She's there, he says simply. Or what's left of her. Why tell me? He shrugs. Because it doesn't matter anymore. Time makes monsters ordinary. You think anyone will really care? 31 years, detective. People forget. Not all of them, she says. He studies her face, searching for something. Fear, disgust, understanding. He finds none, only resolve. He laughs once, softly. You're just like her. She doesn't wait for more. She turns, storms out into the rain, clutching the envelope, the tape pressing against her side. The night smells like metal and rot. She calls Takeda from the car. I found him. She says, What do you mean? I mean, he just handed me a map. There's a pause. You need backup. No time, she says. He's taunting us. He thinks he's untouchable. She hangs up before he can order her otherwise. The wipers smear the rain into ribbons of light as she drives, following the coordinates on the map through narrowing roads, past shuttered gas stations and ghost towns that used to be summer retreats. The forest closes around her, the kind that swallows sound. The dirt road ends at a clearing. Her headlights catch the edge of a sign, half-eaten by moss. Construction site. Closed since 1991. She steps out. The rain has slowed to a mist. The air smells of earth and old things. She walks until the ground turns soft under her boots, until the mud starts to suck at her heels. She stops at the center of the red circle marked on the map. It's just dirt, puddles, and silence. Then her flashlight beam catches it, the edge of something pale, half-buried, curved. Bone. She kneels. The mud sticks to her gloves. The rain makes small ripples in the puddles, the only movement in the world. She uncovers more. A rib, a fragment of cloth, navy blue, almost black in the wet. A ribbon, her throat tightens. She takes photos, tags the coordinates, calls it in. The words feel strange leaving her mouth. Unreal. Remains found, likely female. Possible link to Sato case. The dispatcher's voice wavers. After 30 years? Yes, she says. After 30 years. When the forensics team arrives, the clearing fills with floodlights and the metallic scent of fresh air meeting old death. They mark off grids, photograph, dig, bag. Bones surface like memories. Patient, pale, unburied at last. Aya stands back, the rain whispering against her coat, the red map circle clutched in her pocket. She looks up at the black sky and feels something sharp twist in her chest, relief, rage, grief, all tangled into something wordless. She turns when she hears the sound of an engine behind her, a car idling at the tree line, headlights off, just there long enough for her to see the outline of a man in the driver's seat. Then gone. Hayashida. Watching. The investigation has what it needs now. Evidence, motive, admission, location. But Aya knows this isn't over. Monsters don't surrender when the lights come on. They wait for the dark to return. She looks down at the ground where the ribbon lies, the same navy color now turned nearly black, a thread of the life that never got to finish. The diary was right. If something happened to her, it was because of him. And now, Aya promises silently into the rain, something will happen to him too. The news breaks before dawn, the way bad news always does. A push alert on phones, a crawl at the bottom of the early morning news broadcast, a headline that rips the past into the present in a single line. Tokyo 1990 cold case, human remains found in Chiba woods. The anchor's voice is calm, practiced, but there's a tremor under the words, the weight of 31 years pressing on every syllable. In Narima, in the same small apartment with the same narrow balcony and the same framed photo on the shelf, Yuko Sato wakes to the sound of the television her son left on overnight. She doesn't understand at first. The reporter is standing in a muddy clearing, yellow tape behind him, floodlights throwing harsh shadows over trees. Then she hears it. Her daughter's name. Sato Miyako. The teacup falls from her hand and shatters on the floor. By the time Detective Aya Nakamura knocks on the door, the neighbors already know. Narima is buzzing again, the way it did in 1990, whispers traveling down hallways faster than any official statement. They found her. In the forest. Cold case finally solved. Words that feel like relief and a knife at the same time. Yuko opens the door with eyes that have aged a decade in a single hour. She doesn't ask who it is. She's been expecting this knock for 31 years. You found her. she says, voice small. Aya doesn't try to soften it. There is no soft way to say what needs to be said. We found remains, she replies. The initial assessment suggests they are your daughters. We'll confirm with DNA, but she doesn't finish. She doesn't need to. Yuko's knees buckle, and Aya is faster this time, catching her, guiding her to the couch. Daichi stands in the doorway, fists clenched so tight his knuckles are white. I thought it was better not knowing, Yuko whispers. All these years I told myself that. Maybe she was alive. Maybe she was somewhere, but I always saw trees when I closed my eyes. Aya thinks of the ribbon in the mud, the pale curve of bone, the way the forest swallowed sound. We'll bring her home, she says quietly. She won't be left there anymore. They sit in silence for a moment, the TV murmuring in the background, showing the same clearing Aya stood in hours ago, the same shot, over and over. The camera lingers on the tape, the tarps, the white-suited figures moving like ghosts. Did she suffer? Yuko asks finally. The question every family asks, the one Aya never wants to answer. We're still examining, Aya says, but we know she was brave. She tried to tell us who hurt her. We're listening now. Yuko nods once. Slowly, as if that's the only answer she'll accept. Back at headquarters, the forensics report hits her desk like a small bomb. Female, estimated age at death consistent with 17. Old fractures in the ribs. A hairline crack in the skull. No full skeleton. The forest took its share. But enough to say this was no gentle disappearance. Partial fibers found near what remains of the neck vertebrae suggest ligature marks, but time has blurred the details. Cause of death, undetermined but suspicious. It's not as neat as prosecutors like. No clear stab wound, no bullet, just violence smeared by time, but combined with the diary, the page, the blood, the map handed over by the man who knew exactly where to draw the circle, it's enough. The cassette tape labeled Sato 3-1390 sits on her desk. Small, plastic, obscene. She held it all night like a live thing. The awful sense that whatever is trapped on that thin strip of magnetic tape has been pressing against its cage for 31 years. She slides it carefully into a digitizer deck in the lab, the machine older than some of the techs, and nods once. Record everything, she says. The tape whirs, hiss cracks through the speakers, and then a sound she recognizes intimately. The ambient roar of a moving car, tires on wet asphalt, engine humming low. A radio plays faintly, tinny J-pop from another era. Then a girl's voice. Please, I don't want to go far. Miyako says, breathless, half laughing, half afraid. Really, it's okay. I can walk. A man answers, calm, cheerful, too cheerful. Hayashida's voice, younger but unmistakable. Nonsense. It's raining. I can't just leave you at the station. We live in the same direction, remember? It's fate. You shouldn't say that. She replies. It sounds creepy. He laughs. Then tell me to stop. Silence except for the road noise. Turn signal clicking. Windshield wipers thudding a steady rhythm. I just don't want you to follow me home, she says finally. My mother. Yes, your mother, he cuts in, a hint of irritation under the smile. You mentioned her many times. She exhales. I'll get out at the main road. Really, I'm almost late. They'll worry. That's sweet, he says, being worried about being worried. The car accelerates. The radio volume nudges up a fraction. Wait, she says. This isn't... You missed the turn. No, he says softly. I didn't. The air in the lab thickens. The tech glances at Aya, then back at the screen, hands hovering over controls as if ready to stop it, to rewind reality. You said... I said I'd take you, he replies. I didn't say where. The engine noise deepens. The road surface changes. Asphalt to gravel. Rocks ping the undercarriage. I'll tell the police, she says suddenly, voice sharpening. You've been following me. On the platform. In other cars. I wrote it down. I wrote your name. The radio clicks off. The car slows. You wrote my name? He says very quietly. She doesn't answer. Maybe she realizes she's said too much. Maybe she's afraid of the silence more than the argument. My name, he repeats. In your little book? There's a rustle, a quick scrape, fabric against fabric. The sound of something being grabbed. Give it to me, he says. No. Her voice climbs. It's mine. A sharp slap. The small, awful sound of skin on skin. A gasp. Don't be dramatic, he says. You'll make this worse. Stop the car. No. The recorder picks up breathing now, fast and shallow. The distant rumble of thunder. Somewhere, a truck passes the other way. A whoosh of displaced air. I told them, she says. At school. That man on the train. That if something happens to me, it will be because of... The sentence cuts off in a shriek. Tires squeal. The car lurches. The tape distorts for a second, the sound warping, then snapping back. Look what you did, he snarls. You're making me angry. There's a muffled thud, something hitting the interior panel. A choked sob, pleas that dissolve into noise. Stop, Aya says without meaning to. The tech pauses the tape instinctively, fingers shaking. The lab is suddenly too bright. Should I? He begins. Run it, she says. Her voice is flat, forced. All of it. The tape resumes. We don't hear the exact moment of death. The violence is off mic, half caught. There's a struggle, a cry strangled into nothing. A wet sound Aya will do her best to forget, and never quite manage. There is the slam of a door opening, rain hitting the microphone, rough breathing, something heavy dragged over gravel. Branches snapping, footsteps receding. Then only the sound of the car engine idling, driver's door open, rain drumming on the roof, and the soft, steady crackle of tape running on without anyone listening. Finally, a click. The recorder stops. Aya stands very still. It is one thing to suspect, another to know, another still to hear it, trapped forever on a sliver of magnetized plastic. Murder, in real time. Back it up, she says. 10 seconds before she mentions writing his name. I want that segment isolated, cleaned. I want a spectral analysis of every sound in the background. If there's any other voice in there, anything we missed, I want it pulled out. The tech nods, pale. Yes, detective. When she walks out of the lab, the corridor feels like it's leaning. Every step echoes. In her pocket, the map crinkles, the ink on the red circle bleeding slightly where rain got to it. Takeda meets her halfway, expression carved from stone. We have enough, he says. Prosecutor signed off. Warrant for the house, warrant for arrest. You're reinstated while this is active. After that, we'll talk. After that. He'll be in a cell, she replies. The raid on Hayashida's house is textbook on the surface. Unmarked cars, plainclothes officers, quiet approach. No sirens, no neighbors alerted until it's already over. The door code is no longer a secret. The living room fills with the hiss of radio chatter and the rustle of evidence bags. He doesn't resist. That almost bothers her more. He stands in the doorway in the same kind of grey coat he wore in 1990, hands raised at shoulder height, face unreadable. Katsumi Hayashida, she says, voice carrying in the small space. You're under arrest on suspicion of kidnapping and murder in connection with the disappearance of Sato Miyako in March 1990 and interference with a police investigation. This cold case is no longer cold. He smiles just a little. You like the headlines, he says. No, she replies. I like the truth. They cuff him. They read his rights. He doesn't argue. As they lead him past the cabinet, he glances at it once, almost fondly, like a man saying goodbye to an old photo album. The search turns up everything she knew it would, and more. More clippings, some so old the paper crumbles at the edges. More photos of the station, not just of Miyako. Other girls, too, blurred in motion, circled in pen. A box of tapes, each labeled with a date and a name or description. Student, office lady, black coat. They don't listen to those. Not yet. In a drawer by the bed, they find another notebook. Not pink. Black. His. Observations written in tidy columns. 3-2 smiled again, stood closer to Pillar. 3-10 looked scared, beautiful. 3-13 in the car, finally alone. She said she wrote my name. Had to act. There is no remorse in the ink, only record-keeping. In the interview room, under harsh white light, he sits with his hands folded like he's at a job interview. Aya sits across from him, the thin wall of the table between them the only thing keeping her from reaching across and shaking him until all the secrets fall out. The tape player sits on the table, small, innocuous. He looks at it, then at her. "You broke into my house without a warrant," he says casually. "That will be a problem for you." "We have a warrant now?" she replies. "Nothing from that visit will go to court. We have plenty that will. Bones in a forest," he says. "Old, anonymous. A map anyone could have drawn. My lawyer will argue you coerced me. Threatened my family. You're very dramatic, detective." She presses play. Silence. Then the car. The voices. His own. Younger, sharper. He listens. At first, his expression doesn't change. He's heard this before, she realizes, recently. The tape had been moved, played, a private ritual. When her recorded voice says, "I wrote your name," she watches for a crack. There, a tightening at the jaw. A blink too slow. When the slap lands, she sees his fingers twitch. "Do you remember this?" she asks. "It sounds like an accident," he says. "Two people in a car, an argument, a fall." "The recorder started before she got in," Aya says. "You labeled it with her name and the date. You kept it for 31 years. That's not an accident. That's a souvenir." He leans back. "Souvenir," he repeats. What an ugly word. "It fits," she says. She lets the tape run until the awful part, then stops it a beat before the worst sound. She's not playing that here. She doesn't need to. "You dragged her into the woods," she says. "You left her there. You went back to your life, your job, your daily commute. You watched her mother on TV begging for information and kept your mouth shut." He looks at the ceiling. "You make it sound so simple," he says. "It was for you," she snaps. "You had the power. She didn't." He drops his gaze back to her, eyes suddenly sharp. "You think you're different," he says. "You think you're better because you chase cold cases and put pins in boards. But we're the same. We can't leave things alone. We need to know how the story ends. She wrote my name. You heard it and came running." "She wrote your name because she was warning us," Aya says. "I'm here because we finally listened." He smiles again, thin, knowing. "You didn't listen," he says. "Not then. Not when it mattered. She walked into a police station in her own way and no one opened the door. That's on you. On all of you." For a heartbeat, the words hit their mark. The image of the torn page, the stamp unsolved, the file pushed aside because it was inconvenient. "What happened in that forest?" she asks, voice cooler now. "Did she run? Did she beg? Did she fight?" He closes his eyes briefly, as if replaying it. "She slipped," he says. "You heard the car. You heard the rain. It was dark. Muddy. She fell. Hit her head. After that it was just moving something that was no longer alive." "Liar," Aya says. There's more. She knows there's more, but a part of her knows he'll never give it willingly. She stands, turns the tape player off, gathers the files. At the door, she pauses. "One more thing," she says. "On the tape, right after she says she wrote your name, there's a sound. Faint. Like another voice. We're having it enhanced. If it's what I think it is, you weren't the only one in that car." For the first time, his confidence falters. Just a fraction. A beat too long before the mask slides back into place. "I was alone," he says. "We'll let the tape decide," she replies. She leaves him there, under the white light, surrounded by the hum of the building and the ghosts he tried to keep for himself. Outside the room, she leans against the corridor wall for a second, letting the adrenaline drain out, feeling the day hit her all at once. The case is no longer technically mat tick be un. There is a body, a suspect, a motive, a recording. The paperwork will say solved, the headlines will say cold case cracked after 31 years, and the prosecutors will congratulate themselves on a narrative the public can digest. But Aya knows, as she walks back toward the lab, the diary pages flickering through her mind like a flip book, that something still doesn't fit. Another voice on the tape, another hand on the file, another decision, long ago, to drop a lead and bury a notebook. The cold case is breaking open. The question is, how many people will be buried under the truth when it finally falls? The audio tech calls her into the lab just after midnight, the worst hour for bad news and breakthroughs. The building is mostly dark, a skeleton of fluorescent bones humming in the quiet. On the monitor, the waveform of the cassette floats like a seismograph of someone else's disaster. "I did what you asked," he says, voice low. Spectral isolation on the 10 seconds after she says she wrote his name. "You were right. There's another voice." He taps a key. The original audio plays first. The car noise, Miyako's breath hitching, Hayashida's tone shifting from playful to sharp. "You wrote my name?" The rustle, the slap, the fight for control. Aya's jaw tightens even though she's heard it too many times already. "Now here," the tech says. "Same segment. High-pass filter on the road noise, then phase cancelling on everything that matches his voice pattern. What's left is this." He hits play again. The sound is thinner, ghostly, like hearing through a wall. The car fades. The slap dulls. Underneath, buried low, a second voice rises. Female. Older than Miyako. Calm in a way that makes Aya's skin crawl. "Stop it," the woman says. "You're making a scene. It's just 4 words, that's all. But in those 4 words, the story changes shape." Aya feels something cold slide down her spine. "Run it again," she whispers. He does. The same 4 words. Same cadence. Same dispassionate scolding tone you use on a child spilling juice, not on a kidnapping in progress. "I thought he said he was alone," the tech says quietly. "He lies about everything." Aya answers, but her mind is already moving, fast. A second voice means a second witness, a second accomplice. Someone who watched it happen and told him to worry about appearances, not the girl choking on vowels in the back seat. "Can you pull a frequency profile?" she asks. He nods, fingers flying. Lines appear on the screen, colored bands logging the woman's voice like a fingerprint. "Mid-range," he murmurs. Female, likely 30s at the time. Vowel formants match native Japanese speaker. That's all I can say without a reference. "I'll get you references," she says. Her first thought is Yuko. Immediate, ugly. She forces herself to sit with it for a second, because that's what the job demands. Suspicion without apology. But the pitch is wrong. The timbre is wrong. This voice is cooler, clipped, used to giving orders, not apologies. She feeds the system what it already has. Interview tapes from 1990. Yuko, teachers, station staff, the original prosecutor, the supervising officer, even Morita's younger voice. The algorithm runs, compares, spits out a list of similar but not identical,